Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to an all-new edition of Fanlight Zone Presents. My name is Ken M. You know me as the host of the ODPH podcast. I'm also the editor-chief here at FLZ. To my left, you're right at home. He's one of our featured editors here at the comics department. And you also know him as the host of 607 TWS, the wrestling show. Please give a warm welcome to Rich.
How is everybody out there? I'm glad. Of course, we are back always with great content creators. And of course, with all of our new friends here on the YouTube channel. So thank you all for joining us.
Absolutely. And we have a big periodical to talk about. I give it a grand word because when this book came out, it shook up the comic industry. It shook up the fandom. It gave new energy into the shops that we have not felt in quite some time. And if you are not familiar with Comics, the magazine, it has an exclamation point on it for a reason, because it is filled with excitement every single page, talking about the industry, talking about the stories you need to know about. You got to get familiar with it. And by the end of this episode, you had better be running to the LCS to go pick up some copies of it. We can talk about it quite often because not only are we talking on the show, we also read it and subscribe to it. But we have somebody on the line with us that knows a little more about it and definitely would love to talk to you and get you involved in this movement, because you know him as a part of Prana Direct Marketing Solutions. He's an Eisner's Spirit of Retail Award winner, and he's also part of the Comics Industry Insiders podcast. Please give a warm welcome to the publisher of Comics, the magazine, Adam Freeman. Adam, what is going on?
That's me. Hey, look at that. I showed up in the right place at the right time. That's excellent. Dude, what an intro. Thank you so much. This magazine, we felt like it was something that we needed as people who make comics and are always trying to communicate them. And so, the fact that we had such a huge response for the first 3 issues has been, it's nice to know that it wasn't just us. Let's just put it that way, right? Yeah,
Absolutely.
Because none of us knew what we were doing. Nobody on this magazine ever made a magazine before. Let's just put it that way. So it's been really fun learning and incredible seeing the impact that we've had and the responses that we've gotten. It's just overwhelming. So, yeah, thank you. And thank you guys for having me on. This is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Oh, no, thank you for coming on. And honestly, this magazine is such a breath of fresh air at the shops. And it's something that, as a longtime reader, I have not had this kind of reaction to something since Wizard was a big thing back in my heyday. I'm dating myself here, folks. I don't care. It is what it is.
Listen.
Wizard was such a movement at the time, and seeing the reaction to comics, you have that same vibe, but I love seeing new fans get involved with it. So let's break down first. How did this whole movement come to be?
Boy, oh boy. I mean, there are plenty of times we've said, we do need a new Wizard. And by the way, if you have really fond memories of Wizard, it's time for your colonoscopy. It's time to go schedule that.
It's true.
But no, we came up in comics in the 90s and the aughts, and Wizard was a huge part of the comics community back then. But so were like incredible magazines like the Comics Journal, Comics Buyer's Guide. In our issue 1, we do an entire rundown of the history of comics magazines and zines. In fact, the zine culture was the internet of its day. Like, it is how people in comics met each other and got together, and it's how, honestly, there is no Image Comics without zines, because you start a bunch of those guys met each other through the zines before they started their careers. Anyway, comics, zines, huge part of our history. We knew that we needed something like this. I come into the world as a sales and marketing guy. Worked in comic shops during as you mentioned, I won the Eisner in 2008. We have, spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to sell comics for different publishers, and not having this kind of piece is what we really needed. I just was listening to Brian Haberlin talk about how when you were launching a comic in the 90s, all you needed to do was get like a Wizard ad,
Yep.
maybe a piece in Wizard and something in Previews magazine. And that was it. That was marketing. We haven't really had anything like that communicates directly to fans. The social media doesn't really do it adequately enough. The websites don't really do it adequately enough. Sites like yours, they're great, but like my experience has been something like 85, 89. I think we said 87% was the last time. 87% of the people who walk into comic shops decide what they're going to buy, go up to the counter. If you ask them, how did you decide this? What made, did you, which influencer, which site are you reading? 87% of them say, I don't know. I just come in here and I pick up what I like and I talk to the guy behind the counter and he knows what I like. And, I just pick up stuff. Well, we needed a way to communicate to them, right? As sales and marketing people, we needed a way, and there just wasn't one. And honestly, I was talking. The story goes that I was talking to several different people about this for a while, and they kept saying you should start a magazine, and I said I've never run a magazine. No, thank you. I'm busy. And I met Chip Zdarsky again. Rather, I've met him before, and at the time he was running ZCN. Mm-hmm. Is this kind of marketing giveaway thing that he started as a goof, but he said I was actually sold some advertising, but I just hate managing it. Would you be interested in doing that? And I thought, well, that's something I can do. I've never published a magazine before, but I know how to sell stuff, so sure. So I sold ads and I worked with the printers and the distributors. This is all stuff I know how to do. So that was successful enough, and then he decided to step away because he realized he was going to start writing half of Marvel's line, and he started to step away, and we thought, well, we either lose this or we start our own. And I realized that the really hard part was selling the ads. So once we had that down, like the rest of it kind of came together, and then we started putting together this incredible team that has just, well, I could talk about those guys for an hour, but because they're literally right now putting issue 4 to bed, and they're doing an incredible job. But listen, so it just was one of those, we saw the need, we realized that we had the tools to fix it. And so like the team kind of came together, and the first, when we got that first order number, boy, oh boy, was that like, it was proof that we knew that what we saw, that the rest of the industry agreed with us, was true. But also like it was this really kind of scary moment because I wasn't prepared to print that many. I had a budget to print like a quarter of that. But yeah, it really has been an incredible experience. Yeah.
By the way, if you're on the fence about issue 1, Chip Zdarsky has a wonderful mail-in letter. It's the first mail-in letter.
It's incredible.
I enjoyed that endlessly. So if you haven't read it, go back and get one. It's great.
I have to tell you. So the bit is he writes us a series of letters because we didn't have him. It didn't have anybody writing us. It's the first issue, so there's nobody writing to the magazine. And so the bit is that he got so distracted by it. Or he got so distracted by Absolute Batman, I think it is. Mm-hmm. They ends up like running some guy over, and they wouldn't. Anyway, he's writing us from prison. That was the joke. I am holding in my hand. Nobody else has seen this before. I'm holding in my hand our first letter from a prisoner who references that bit and to like say, Chip's not in here. I keep looking. It is incredible. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
That's amazing. That is awesome. But usually I'm notorious for asking the elevator pitch, but this is a little different because this is a magazine. However, there's a lot that goes into this. So on that same basis of elevator pitch, what is Comics the Magazine? Like if you had to break it down, I know there's a lot of moving parts as a fan of it, but what is it if you're telling somebody who's never seen a comics magazine before?
Well, it's really in the title, man. It is about comics. It's about it's our love letter to comics, but it's also a way for our contributors to talk about the thing about the comics that makes them excited. Like our goal with Comics the Magazine is to take give the olds like us, the graybeards like us, that juice that we got from, when we were all reading the same thing at the same time once a month, right? That bit, we've lost that. And so we gave us an opportunity to really grab that moment again. And two, there's this entire generation of new comics fans. We're calling them the Dogman generation. These kids that grew up on Scholastic Graphics. Then they went into manga, and out of manga, they started going to comic shops, and they get their first jobs. They have disposable income. And what does DC do? It gives them absolute Batman #1, right? That is it is Batman for the manga generation. Mm-hmm. So we see this incredible influx of this new generation of buyers going into shops, and the shops are exploding. So I'm really doing a bad job of the elevator pitch. I'll just hope that we had several floors. But anyway, so we've created a magazine that does two things. It celebrates the joy and the incredible power that comics bring into our lives. That thing that has kept us coming back for decade after decade and going into our shops every single week. It does that, but then it's also a primer, right? It's, you liked that, now try this. This is juxtaposed next to that. Both of these things look different, but they're also comics. It is just this is kind of path. It's a map through comics for say somebody who's walking in for the first time.
And it's a great map to follow because it really covers all the elements that make you a fan. Yeah. And that's something that in this day and age we sorely need, and thankfully we're getting. Yeah. And to think about that for you, when was the moment that hooked you as a comic book fan? Oh gosh.
I will say I'm going to really show some age here, but the death of Robin in Death in the Family specifically, I remember that was the first book that I got on my bike and went to the comic shop and bought with my own money. Before that, I have memories of when my little sister was born, somebody handed me a bunch of Karl Barks Ducks books. I remember those stories really well. Those kinds of things, but it really was that moment. And then in the early 90s, I moved to California from Texas, and I found for a job, and I found two things when I got there: the comic shop and the grocery store. And then that comic shop, I was still going once a week. I had the habit, but the new what's that, Vertigo line? No, it wasn't Vertigo. It was Zero Hour. That Starman.
The James Robinson one.
James Robinson, Tony Harris, Wade Van Garbadger. Those three guys together, I think, just made this an incredible piece of culture. And it was the hook in my cheek that brought me right back every single month. And I ended up working in that comic shop, and I ended up buying that comic shop. So,
oh wow,
that'll tell you how much I fell in love in that moment. Yeah.
It came all the way back in.
But if we're talking the Jason Todd moment, did you vote yes or no?
I don't remember if I did vote or not.
Okay.
I remember the ballot box because I went to one comic shop and then I bought it at another one. Oh no, I take that back. Yeah. The first one I bought, was that one. I thought maybe I voted. I cannot remember. It's been a long time, man.
No, that's fair. Yeah. That's fair. I remember that moment too. It's wait, why? You're deciding the character's fate by this? But I mean, it's brilliant. It was a brilliant move at the time. Got it.
Absolutely. And who knows? I'm sure that there are plenty of stories written about whether or not they actually did what the vote called for or what. But yeah, I mean, we all remember that moment. It's just emblazoned in my mind. And also there was a little bit of I spent a lot of time with comics retailers, and many of them have a real problem with speculators. I always say that speculators, many of them are just going to be the comics fans of the future. Because I know I was. The idea that I could buy a comic for whatever it was, $3 and maybe sell it for $10, that was incredible.
Yeah.
I'm at that age, that's mind blowing. So I totally understand how people get caught up in that now. Yeah.
It's funny that we were bringing up the whole, the death of Jason Todd and the voting, because that was a great piece of marketing. It's a perfect segue.
Yeah.
You do marketing in comics. Yeah. What is the biggest challenge with marketing comics?
Boy, I will tell you, I think I've been part of some of the most creative marketing in comics through my career. Both, started off working at Top Cow. We did some really creative stuff in the conventions specifically, and working with retailers. Then goes involved in the Valiant 2012, that launch. We did some stuff that I'd never seen before and haven't really seen again. And then, I was one of the founding members of Bad Idea. And I don't know if you followed any of that, but we had some marketing ideas. I will tell you, the hardest part about marketing in comics is it's the same as anything else. We are in an attention-based economy. And so trying to get and keep people's attention is the most expensive thing you can do. Both, especially if what you're expending is creativity, or, it's easier to spend money, frankly. But getting and keeping anyone's attention in this day and age is hard. But specifically, how do you get through to comics fans where they are? Because where they are is in the shops. We've never really, as an industry, we've never really quite cracked how to sell digital comics to people. We sell a lot of stuff through Amazon, but that's because everybody sells a lot of stuff through Amazon. Sure. Really, most of the things, anytime you're selling to someone, you're usually doing it in the shops, and doing that is it's expensive and it's hard, because there's 2,700 of them, and they each have their own way of doing things. So you can't do one deal and cover them all. You have to really get to know them all. It's all about ground game. So yeah.
The interesting part about what you said there, though, and obviously pain in the ass for you doing the marketing for that, but at the same time, as a fan, as all of us are fans as well, that is the beautiful part about comics in general, is it's one of those places where we have a real community. And I'm not saying other places don't get me wrong. Online is a beautiful place. Obviously, this is on YouTube, and sure, we have that, these conversations are great, and we all, but think about it. Everybody who's probably watching this also goes to that shop every week or every other week, depending upon their schedule. And they're always going to be chatting with other customers and other clients and other in the people who are working at the shop. And it's just such a beautiful thing that we, as a community, as a comic fan community, we really value that interaction, which is crazy in this digital world where everybody is turning away from that. Everything else, we're all willing to go ahead and do the digital thing. But in comics, everybody still wants to stay like, hey, this is my Mecca. I'm going to that place and I'm going to spend some time there. Because I don't know about you guys, but I don't just walk into the shop, get my stuff and walk out. You're
always talking to somebody.
A couple things about that. One is, I would argue that the comic shop brings people together because of something they love, whereas a lot of online conversation, a lot of things that bring people together is based on what they hate. Right. Yeah. So, it's showing up every week at your comic shop because of something that you absolutely love. That is unique in our world. Something else that's unique is comic shops themselves. So I said 2,700. Right this second, there's right around 2,700 comic shops in the world. And depending on how you define them, we can get up as high as 4,800. But the 2,700 is a really nice, solid number for what we think of as comic shop. That number hasn't really changed except for this past year. That number hasn't really changed year on year. The store count hasn't changed plus or minus 4% in something like just over 20 years. We're talking 20, 25 years that has not changed. The store count hasn't really shifted. And that's during the period Diamond really tried hard to grow, because that was the only way they were going to grow, is if they grow the number of shops. It's really difficult to do. But what's interesting about that is it also didn't fall. And during that period, you saw the death of brick and mortar stores in your communities. I don't know about you, but in my community, in my neighborhood, all of the strip malls, they are full of services, right? It's karate studios and nail salons and dry cleaners and people who do stuff for you. That's not what it was like 30 years ago. 30 years ago, they were half full of pet stores and bookstores and places you would go to buy stuff. They're just not there anymore, except for the comic shops. The comic shops have not died. Now, I said that they, haven't changed plus or minus 4%. That's except for this last year where they went up 15%. So we're seeing incredible growth in the shops, primarily because of that new generation I was talking about, but also because we're seeing some really great product for the first time, like just a wave of incredible product on the shelves. So yeah, I'm really bullish on comic shops, obviously.
No, absolutely. And that's the one thing too about getting a printed copy. And there's no experience like it. And especially like we touched upon, it's been a while since we've had a magazine like this really champion the cause of making comics journalism in print. Yeah. Like, how vital is that for you, like looking at the market right now to make sure it's in print and not so much as the digital aspect?
Well, I think that the part of the reason why comics works in print so well, in a way that books, books transition to a digital experience pretty easily. Comics still hasn't done that. But I would say running a magazine specifically, it means that we get to go a little further in depth than you would online, which is ironic because online you should have infinite space, right? If you're writing an article, a blog piece or whatever, you could write 10,000 words on whatever subject it is, but nobody's going to read past the first 200. So everybody does listicles. They do for the punchy headline. They just do that. Whereas in print, we can actually go a little longer. We can hold your attention a little longer. Why? Because there's no alert going to pop up on the printed page. There's nothing going to tell you have a text, nothing going to tell you that somebody liked you, something you said. It's just holding your attention. You're sitting and reading. And it's a unique experience in our world that you can put this, not stare at the screen and sit and have something hold your attention for that long.
Yeah. There's a lot to that. Like, I think that's because obviously doing what we all do, like we're reviewing comics, you're doing it, when you do that, and I'm not saying that we follow a formula because there's no formula,
right?
But you always want to make sure the review is not super long. Because if it's really long, nobody's going to read it. They're not going to get through it. Whereas if you make it concise, smaller, and obviously with comics, it's a little bit easier because how much if you make a review longer than the book is, that's a problem, right?
That's a huge
problem. But like you still want to make it concise so somebody can go bullet point. What'd you think of it? Okay, cool. So then they can move on and decide whether they're like, oh, I'm going to give this a shot or not give this a shot, or oh, do I agree with this person or not agree with this person? Like but you have to be aware of that because the attention span is kind of as far as like writing online digitally is very small, whereas in print you don't have those distractions. And the opposite of that is true in video though, or podcasting, like we talked about. You can make really long form videos or podcasts and people are really engaged in them. However, that doesn't work for print, which is crazy to think about, but it's true.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's just such a thing to deal with short-term attention spans, but long-term memories. Because that's like literally what you're making when you go to the shops and you pick these up and you read. Because online, like everything is like boom, 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 here today, gone today. Going to the shops, picking up magazines like this, especially in the print form, you have that lasting physical item first and foremost, but then that memory still.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I still remember, like, I can visualize pieces that I read usually in comics magazines. Like there are passages of the Comics Journal I read in 98 that I can still, I not quite quote, but I can really tell you in depth what they were saying because it had my entire attention. And I think that that's something that we really have to, as a species, we have to get that back, that ability to sit and focus because, we have been, our attention spans have just been decimated over these last couple decades, and we can. Right. We have the ability to sit and learn to read again. I know that it's been a challenge for me, but, I've really had to make time in the same way you would go to the gym to just sit and read. And it's hard. Yeah.
The funny part is like just holding this, and it's not just a plug the fact of the book, but just holding something in your hand, whether it's a comic, whether it's this.
You should keep holding it, by the way. That's usually the whole show. There we go. That's what I'm talking. That's beautiful. Here we go. Yeah.
But if you really think about it, like there you go. Now we have all three issues now that you held them up. There you go. All three issues are on display. But seriously, there's something mentally about holding this because like peek behind the curtain when you're for anybody who ever wanted to know about reviewing comics, you review them off of digital PDFs. Not in most of the time, not off of the one in hand. So you get used to reading comics that way. But I still love reading them this way.
Oh yeah.
So like I have things that I review that I still have on my pull list because it's what I love, because I love opening the book and actually rereading it this way, because there's something about this that feels right.
It's just, if you grew up in that shop, but that's the way it should be for comics, because it's the experience, like with the great storytelling you get, but it's that experience thing that you have to have it physically in your hands to truly understand it.
Yeah, I agree.
And things like page turns, like they're thought through. That is part of the art of comics and comic storytelling. That is it. But you know what? Something I haven't put it together until just now. You were talking through it. If I open this magazine and I want to read it, it involves both my hands and my entire face. Mm-hmm. My hands are usually, I have got a phone on one hand, no matter what else is going on. But I can't like read this magazine with a phone in my hand. Like there you go, two hands, attention.
It's like, well, think about it. It's like going to the movie theater to watch a movie. You're locked in. Whereas if you do it at home, you've got the distractions. I think that's why I like going to movie theaters still. You know what? Maybe it's just because we're the old guys in the room. Like you pointed out, we're the gray beards. And now we're just like, hey, this is how it should be, you young whippersnappers. But,
well, they're agreeing with you. This is an entire Gen Z, Gen Alpha move towards physical media again, where they're buying albums. They're buying cassette tapes. My 23-year-old came to me and asked for advice on making a mixtape for somebody they had a crush on. Like this, it's coming back. Like, because they're just so done with this purely digital experience where you don't own anything and nothing is concrete. Everything is ephemeral. So you want to be able to hold things in your hands. This entire generation of these kids that are like, they had it better than we do. And they're right. God damn it.
They're right. You know what? They're starting to come back to our ways. So salute to those kids. We love it. But speaking about the beautiful piece of work here, going back to this, great team, by the way. Like I said, not just putting us over, fans of it, love seeing it. How did you go about selecting the team that's putting this together each and every month?
Well, all right. So we start off with Joe Keating. Joe is an Eisner Award-winning writer and editor. He has done some of the most incredible work. If you are an Invincible fan, he is the guy who created Tech Jacket, right? He is the man. I had been working with Joe on this project called The Future Is, which is right here. It's also in stores every month for a company called Rekka Comics. Rekka Comics was started by a cybersecurity firm that does a lot of, they do like what's called white hat hacking, right? Well, they'll go in and find your vulnerabilities and tell you what they are before somebody with a black hat comes in and finds the same one. Anyway, Jason, inside of the hacking community, there's something called social engineering, right? Which basically means if I show up to a bank, I can talk my way in. It's lying, but like it's, they understand the social dynamics. Joe and I like to say that the guy who runs Rekka Comics, a man named Jason Blanchard, been an old friend of ours. I met him when he was running a comic shop in Florida. It was literally called A Comic Shop. And then he went on to work at DC and then worked at Diamond, ran Free Comic Book Day for a while, and then moved on into cybersecurity. Anyway, Jason couldn't get comics out of his system, decided he wanted to start a publisher. I tell you all of that to say he was the one who kept saying to me and Joe separately, he didn't tell us that we was doing this. We really need Wizard Magazine. We need it back. We need Wizard Magazine. And we're like, yeah, okay, sure. So he socially engineered us to work on this together. So when the time came, I said, we just got to try it. We got to try it. We can't not try it. And so we did. And then we put together, then Rico Renzi. I had worked with Rico at Bad Idea. Just an incredible talent, incredible design sense. If you ever saw the really dumb logo that we did for Orc Island, it was unreadable, but like it said exactly what we needed to. That was Rico Renzi. Anyway, so I knew we needed an incredible designer, and that he was available and interested. But then it really was a man named Gabe Yoakum, who I've known for many, many years. He worked at Double Take. He worked with one of the early voices at AWA. He worked at Reed Pop, so the people who do New York Comic Con and C2E2. He was the head of sales for those, so he knew everybody who was doing booths at those companies or those conventions. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, I see the stuff you're doing right now. I really want to get involved." And I'll tell you, I'm not making this part up. When Gabe came, because I knew I needed somebody who could sell ads. I knew how, but I also know that I couldn't run the magazine, run the company, and be the sales guy.
Sure.
So when Gabe showed up, it was like that moment in Castaway when Tom Hanks is at the beach and he sees that porta potty that comes up on the beach, and he goes, "Oh, I can build a raft." Right? He just saw it. He was like, I knew I needed this one thing, and this one thing showed up, and now I can actually build this raft. And so he had to get busy building the raft. And Gabe Yoakum was my porta potty. When he showed up, I realized, oh, we could actually do this. Yeah. So there you go. And then finally, not last but absolutely not least, Megan Marsden, I've worked with on a number of different projects. She's our head of operations. This magazine does not go off without her. She keeps us all running in a way that, like, I am every month. She surprises me at how good she is at it. So yeah, it's a pretty incredible team. I'm not gonna lie. We've been very, very lucky, and then the people who have contributed, that's even its own incredible team. So yeah. I'm in a really good spot.
No, definitely. And the proof is right there in the magazine each and every time it comes out. Like, this is something that if fans are not invested in, you need to get invested in. Yeah. And especially after the issue 1 came out, what has been your favorite moment reading the magazine? Like, is there some section in there that you're like, I can't believe we did this, but man, I'm so excited it's in here.
I've got a couple for me personally that I'm so excited we were able to do. On the back page of every issue is an order form, right? And this order form is everything that was mentioned in the magazine. It was everything that was advertised. It was everything that we talked about in an interview. Every time a creator mentions a book that there was a reference for them, it goes into this order form. And you as a reader can go, "Oh, Mr. Retailer, I want that," right? You have that as a reference. So I'm real proud of that. As a former retailer, somebody who works with retailers, anytime we can help them sell more books, we're doing the Lord's work. So that, and then my favorite though, I gotta say, my actually personal favorite is, and then this issue, it's in the back here, is the classifieds.
Yes.
I'm trying to teach an entire generation of people who've never had classified ads in their lives why this is an important thing. That's been fun. But like, $20, $25, you can get in front of tens of thousands of comics fans. There's no better deal anywhere on social media advertising, anywhere. There's no better deal. And there are people who are starting to get it. Like, we went from I had to basically give away the first one. Then the second one was like a half a page, and the third one's a little bigger, and this one's finally big. I think at some point this is going to take over the magazine, is my guess. But yeah, it's been that part has been really fun. But yeah.
It's really funny that you brought up the back page, because honestly, last night when we were talking, like, peek behind the curtain of preparing, because we, hey, surprise, we do. So we're talking about like coming in and talking, and one of the things that I said is like, I love the back page. I was like, I'm going to ask about it. I was like, because as like we just talked about, as fans, as we support the LCSs, it's amazing to be like, oh, here's everything you need to know. You can take it in, like, even if you feel awkward talking to somebody, it gives you that I can check this off, and this can be the start of a conversation. And I thought that was such a great idea, especially for a generation who might not have that. Like, I thought it was amazing. And it was really a drive for it's literally the next question. So I'm like, well, there goes that question.
Cross it off the list.
We're gonna have to add another question at the end just to make up the time.
The funny part about it is I feel like doing this, it was like between us all showing off the different issues of the comic of the magazine at the same time of that, there's going to be people like, did they really plan all of this? Like, I promise there was no pre-conversation or pre-organization.
We're just professionals,
but we're just, hey, like, sometimes you fire on something, and like, literally, I thought that was like, that was my, like, you could ask him the thing that I gush about. I'm like, I love the articles. I love how much fun this stuff is. I love all the the cool little things, like you have creators talking to each other and all that. I love the dollar bin kings, and all of that is great. But like that final back page, I was like, this to me like encapsulates everything as a fan. Like, and I was like, kudos to that. So I was going to ask that because I was just a big fan of that. So now that you've stolen that question.
Well, it's a labor of love for me because it is, I have 2 jobs each issue. I guess 3. I'm the guy who writes all the checks, but my 2 biggest jobs editorially are one I just, oh shoot, I didn't quite finish it. God damn. Anyway, I have access to the pull box power rankings data, and so I pull that and see who went up and who went down and who stayed the same and who's new. So I go through and do that, and then when the whole thing is done, it's the first time I've read it because I like having fresh eyes right before I approve it to go to print. But I do go through and pull all of those. I do the order form list before I hand it over to the designer. So yeah, it is a real labor of love because I wanted to make sure that we got it right. It was one of those things that we really fought for with, like, there is no Previews magazine anymore, right? There is no place in print where you can get in front of comics fans, which is the whole point of this. And so we really debated, should we like run an order form for everything coming out that month? We can't really do that, but this we can do. And this, arguably is the thing that people are the most excited about, right? We're going to be talking about the thing that is going to be exciting that month anyway. So yeah, thank you for, I love that resonated with you because that is, like I said, that is one of my favorite pieces, and I'm going to continue to build it if we can.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the other thing that resonated with me a lot, so this will segue into that, is that I love the fact that, like, you have the big articles. So you have obviously on this cover, because you can see it, you have Absolute Batman. The newest issue is TMNT. And so you have these big, obviously huge titles. And the way that you mix in the articles, though, is beautiful because on top of that, you have a lot of stuff from the indies and the independent comics. And I personally champion, as well as Family Zone, independent comics. And as you've said, there has been a boom in comics, because I believe as much as there's cool stuff like Absolute Batman out there, there's also a book that you can find in any genre now.
Absolutely.
And the indies makes that possible. And I love the fact that Comics, the magazine, does a great job of highlighting the indies. And as somebody who's in marketing, as somebody who's doing this and obviously loves independent comics as well, what is and I ask a lot of creators this, what is your take on the independent market currently in the year 2026?
It's in a weird spot. And we're starting to transition out of, I think, really, there was this dissonance that was happening for comics creators who are, who work only on creator-owned work, right? And there's a number of them post-image generation. Like, we have an entire section of our industry where people are able to spend an entire career only working on things they own, right? We had a really big resurgence of them, brand new IP and companies that were being created just to create brand new IP back in, I would say in the late teens, early 20s, right? We saw those. Then we saw a big dip. We saw kind of a crash from them. But then coming out of this post-COVID like correction, we're starting to see this rise that's going on in the comic shops, 20 to 40% year on year. These shops are doing right now. But you hear from these indie creators, and they're like, "But where's my sales? My sales are not increasing like that. I'm not seeing 20 to 40%." My take on how that is, and this is just the experience of more than anything else. I don't have real data to back this up. We're working on it. I think we're going to have something soon. But my take is that you and I, like for me, we talked about my story earlier. I didn't walk in the door ready for The Dark Knight Returns. I wasn't ready for it, right? Had you even handed it to me, I would have gone, I don't get this. It was going to be many years before I was ready for Watchmen. It was going to be even more years before I was ready for something. Let's even say something like Saga or something, that is maybe a little more, citizen friendly. So what I'm saying is that comics, you have to have a path. We all have a path that we went through to find these things. And I think this new generation that is increasing sales everywhere, I think they're walking down that path now. And we're starting to see like these huge upticks of like, we saw Dork, just light everything on fire for a little while there. Part of that was the speculation crew deciding that this is the one they're going to double down on because of the Carl book. His name, I can't remember his name. Help me out with something Carl. I looked at the ad on the back cover. Dungeon Crawler Carl.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's the vault.
Yeah, the artist, Brett Bean, he was the artist on that big Kickstarter. And so people don't really credit that enough for, the artist for the takeoff of Dork. But I think what we're starting to see is these sort of indie titles that people are like, okay, now that I'm comfortable, now that I've read my absolutes, I've read some of these ultimates, I'm feeling a bit more comfortable. I've started reading some of the older Marvel stuff. I have no idea what goes one after the other, but I'm going to try them. Then they go, okay, well, maybe now's the time I can try what's my indie book, right? And the indie book that's launching. So I think that's part of what we're seeing now is we're going to see a move as this generation starts expanding their palettes. We're going to start seeing some more indie books. But the other piece of this, I don't think gets enough credit is when I was a retailer in the late 90s and through the aughts, like we had graphic novels, sure, we had trade paperbacks, but like we didn't have anything close to the depth that was there that we have now. So I would say like there's probably an entire generation of these kids that were raised on Scholastic graphics. They went through the manga phase. They've come into the comic shops that we are not going to see statistical relevance from because they're just off in their own little nooks, right? They're reading stuff that's been in print for 15 years that is, we're not even thinking about. So I don't know. That's me pontificating. I have zero, no real data to back it up.
Oh no, I think you're onto something. I think everything you said was right on the money too, because like especially with the trades, like trades have become huge. I remember like it would be like you always saw trade paperbacks, but all of us collectors, we were like month to month. I'm not going to buy really the trade because I already own the issues. But now like that has become a marketed unto its own. Like you see, it's a big movement. Like when I see like a lot of pre-orders and even talking to people at shops is like they're like, oh, we get a lot of pre-orders for the trades. Like, and I think that's why, because the graphic novels, a trade paperback is basically a graphic novel. Like it's digestible like a graphic novel. You can just flip through it and you can read and the different volumes break down, and I think that you're right. And I think that we can't get those numbers because some of those kids are looking at that trade paperback and then they're looking at that wall going, oh, and now I can go back and read Civil War. And now I can go back, and they're picking up all these older trade paperbacks in omnibuses, and they're making it all happen. And I think that that's actually a really cool thing. And it's great for the shops too, because like they're treating the shops in essence like a paid library. and I think that's really where you see that uptick that you were talking about in the shops business.
And they're all doing incredibly well right now. And you're seeing that. You're seeing the trades go up, but you're also seeing, like, you want to talk about, collectors. I don't think we've not quite seen the same heat or interest on, like, say, a first printing of, I said it earlier, like Dark Knight Returns. I'm sure you could probably, a first printing of the trade paperback, I'm sure goes for something, but I doubt it goes for as much. But like those omnibus collectors, those dudes are hardcore. Like you're seeing, you guys know a lot of content is being written or being recorded just around that culture of people that just love spending $100-$200 on like a slab. So that's just it. Once they're in the door, it's a choose your own adventure. Are we going to see an incredible influx of indie talent? I absolutely believe that. We're going to keep seeing these hits that are going to have to go through 2, 3, 4 printings until they get the numbers right. And so long as we have the big marquee books bringing people in, I don't see why we can't continue to see that growth year after year. I think we got a decade ahead of us of this. So long as we can all stay out of like a you know, I don't know, a civil war or something, I think we're going to be fine. You know, as long as there's not a global depression that just keeps people from having any money to spend, I think the comic shops specifically are going to do really, really well.
Great escape from reality.
Amen to that. So that said, if you have to recommend one book or one series to instantly hook a fan,
oh man,
who would it be and why?
So it's the hot seat now.
I hate this question. I really do. Because I spend a lot of time doing this work that keeps me going. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you a new one. This is a brand new one that I absolutely love. It's when I was working at Bad Idea, we had a number of titles that we were in development on. And one of the things that we were able to do there is really work ahead and give books time. To kind of percolate. So we would have a big drawer full of product that had never been printed yet. One of those titles is being printed right now. And I think it's going to end up being one of the most important horror titles that we've seen in a while. And that's Joshua Dysart and David Lapham on The Hab. Issue 1 came out, 3 weeks ago, something like that.
Yeah.
So issue 2 will be out very soon. I think the world of Joshua Dysart. I think he's one of the most incredible talents that just kind of goes. He's Moneyball, right? He's one of those guys who always gets on base, and he's worth every dollar you spend on him. This book is one of my favorite things he's ever written. And David Lapham is just a master he is just a master of our field. And watching those two play together was some of my favorite work we've ever seen. And a couple of my notes made it in, and I don't want to take credit for them, but like when I see them, I'm like, oh, hey, I had a piece of that. So.
There you go. I'm a huge horror comic fan. Everything comes across my desk that's horror is definitely piques my interest. Right now, that's definitely it's been I've been a horror fan my whole life, but like comics, like horror and comics has gotten so good. It's taking on, let's be honest, it's taking on enough that like even the big publishers are putting out brands for horror comics. Like that should tell you, how big horror comics have become. The other thing that's coming up that I've been a big fan on is true crime comic books.
Yeah.
Which is, I wasn't like a true crime podcast person or anything like that. Nothing against it. So don't come for me. Sure. I know they still have a vicious fan base, but it's wild to see all the true crime stuff that's coming out that's really good. I guess it ties hand in hand in a little bit with the horror because you kind of have that aspect to it a little bit as well. But yeah, it's great to hear. So I'm gonna definitely be looking out for.
If I had the ability to publish anything right now, that without worrying how it was going to sell, it would be true comics business stories, because I love the business of comics so much. I've spent, I have an entire podcast about it. And I think you could, there's such incredible stories that came out of how some of these companies were built, that I, kind of been, I don't know, someday I might figure out how to make a business out of it, but yeah,
I think you could do it.
Yeah, I think so.
I like just like sitting in this, like being blessed to sit in the seat that I've been blessed to be in and talk to creators and stuff, especially like you get that generation that, when I was getting into comics and you hear them and they'll give you the smile on their face story. I was telling I've edited videos with a smile on my face, even if the video didn't do, gangbuster numbers, doesn't matter. But I've had this smile from ear to ear just because I lived the interview and I was good and I'm paying attention. But when you're editing, it gives you that locked in, like you got everything, you're re-listening to everything, and you're just listening to these stories and you see that you could actually see the facial and the joy. And it's just like, that's why I said I think it would sell well, because I think people would actually like to hear those stories. It's a while. So I'm not saying you have to do it tomorrow, but if you ever get around to do it, you at least have one reader, probably two. I can speak for him, and I'm sure a whole bunch of other people.
I did launch a magazine this year, so give me at least a year before I have to start some other crazy job.
Yeah.
You talk about horror comics. Before I lose it, we have an upcoming horror issue of Comics Magazine. And I'm not even gonna tell you what it is. I'm gonna tease you, but the cover is going to be, it's gonna I don't know. People are gonna pay attention when they see this cover. But there's a piece in there, I believe it's gonna run, that was written by Dirk Manning. You know Dirk? He now runs Source Point Comics. He's done a lot. He's done a ton of horror comics, and they do a lot of horror comics at Source Point. Anyway, he wrote this piece about why horror stories get and keep our attention, and his premise has stuck with me ever since I wrote it. I'm going to give it away. I apologize for anybody who wants the big reveal, but he says that horror stories work because they make us ask ourselves, what would I do in that position?
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you think about it, all of them, like right down to like Nightmare on Elm Street, right? What would I do if this dude with knives for fingers is coming at me? What would I do like if it was my time to die, right? What would it, like, all of those things that the horror does for us? It is that survivalist instinct in us of how would we handle this? Yeah, dude. Yeah.
No, that's deep. I've never really thought about it. And it works for every level of horror. Because even like you look at something like just throwing out there, you look at something like Last House on the Left, where technically it's what would you do if you found out that the killers, or worse, of a family member of yours were in your presence?
Yeah.
What would you do? Would you get revenge, or would you not? And there's like, so it's really kind of like, it makes you question where you stand and what and it's kind of wild, because no matter what your answer is, it can be exhilarating in a one way or another. Would you fight back? Would you run? Would you try, what would you try to do? Would you throw the person in front of you and it take off? Who knows how? It's really, it makes you question who you are as a human being, actually.
Yeah. And no matter what, you become part of the story. You have a personal connection to that story once it's hooked you. Yeah. I don't know. I've never been a huge horror fan, but man, I ever since then I've started picking up horror books and going, oh shit, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. It's that's the thing that makes it work. Anyway. Yeah.
Amazing. One more hot seat question for you.
Damn it. All right, let's go.
We have to have one more before we exit out of here.
Okay.
So it is the crossover, century. Like this 2000s, we love our crossovers. I mean, and they've come back to comics, because now we have Spider-Man and Superman working together again. We have Wolverine and Batman. We've had all sorts of crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
If you could take remind you, IP is not an issue here. No lawsuits. If you could take any two, and you could be from any medium, any two series, and put them together, what would they be?
Oh, you gotta prep people for this question.
The hot seat is the best part about it, though.
God, I could take two of any
property, and you don't have to worry about getting sued.
No legal issues, no nothing.
Oh, man, this is awful. This is really diabolical. Hold on, let me look at my bookshelf here. I gotta think about this.
I love it. I love it. Like, we've had some really good answers here too, especially in the hot seat, because then you don't have usually a lot of time to think about it.
Yeah,
I'd give you prep time. You'd have a whole dissertation.
Yeah, we have to go anti-Batman about this.
You give me a little bit of time, I'm gonna make that work. Okay, I got one. All right. This is going to be real good. You're going to like this because you've never heard of this book, or maybe you have. And if so, well, even better. Here's the thing. There's a book out from Dave Baker called Mary Tyler Moorcock. Okay. That becomes this like really intense layered story about this creator. And it's written in several different, I mean, it starts off as comics, but there's some prose in there, and there's some kind of time jumping aspects to it. I'm buying time here because I thought I had somebody I was going to drop in there, and then I changed my mind in the middle of it. Fuck. Oh, damn it. Oh gosh, I don't know. Now you really have me. All right, let's just put Batman in Love and Rockets and see how Jaime Hernandez writes that. How about that? There we go.
That works.
That's a good one.
God,
that's a really good one.
That's so tough though. Now I really do kind of want to see, Maggie and Opie bring Bruce Wayne down to his to their level. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Like I said, it's the beauty of the question, that hot seat question. I have time to really go think about it, because we could all come up with something amazing if we had time.
So harsh. Let's see. Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Dungeon Crawler Carl. Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
But you can definitely, it's a great comic question, then one you may see in the pages of the Powerhouse periodical that everybody needs to go get on your pull list. Make sure you're buying this.
Yeah,
make sure you get multiple copies and give it out to some fans that, you know, if they're not into comics, I guarantee you by the time they're done reading this, they're going to at least have an inkling to go to a shop and go get that experience. And that's all we really want as fans, is to get more fans involved, get that positivity talk about the beauty of this industry. Adam, we can't thank you enough for what you're doing here at Comics, the magazine, and thank you for coming on the show. We definitely have to talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. This was super fun. Can I just I want to, and one up on something you just said. If you are listening to this, please do go subscribe. Go to your local comic shop and tell them, because you can't buy it digitally. We don't do a digital version. We don't sell subscriptions. We don't mail order. It's only like 3 or 4 of us. We don't have time for that. But so go to your local comic shop and hit and subscribe. But also, if you want to make a difference in a comic creator's life and make a difference for a title, that subscription, that pre-order, that pull box that happens at your local comic shop, that's the one thing you can do that's going to make the biggest difference for them, because it means the retailer feels more confident in getting it on the shelf. It means that they have more confidence in buying extra copies for people who walk in. And it means that especially if you go back in and buy it, it means that retailer has regular income and is able to do what they do best, which is keep a place for you to come in and enjoy comics. So yes, there you go. That's my
pull list, and orders are always important.
Exactly.
Amen.
It's one of the best things that you can do, honestly.
It's a winning formula that will benefit you and more people to keep this community growing in a positive direction. So listen, it all starts with you going to the shops, making those orders, getting Comics, the magazine, in your list, and going from there and really representing yourself as a fan to this amazing industry.
I love it.
So that being said, on behalf of Rich and myself, thank you again for checking out another edition of Fanlight Zone Presents. We'll see you next time.
It's such waste of time, swiping left and swiping right on people you could know. 'Cause anyone who's worth a damn be worth way more than a picture could ever show. You could find the right light, find the right angle, and never find your soul. And it can feel like a losing battle, and this plot is full of holes. This modern way of finding love just makes me feel so alone. And I can't be the only one sick of staring at my phone. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Don't know that I believe in the old time fable. Everyone has just one true love. All I know is you're across this table, and you're all I'm thinking of. So look up, talk to me, a better way to spend our energy. Just look up, talk to me. We don't have to float alone on the open sea. Talk to me. Talk to me. It's such waste of time, swiping left and swiping right on people you could know.